moving on to another, maybe the most controversial topic here, is Bitcoin and blockchain maximalism. I don't know what your take on it is. It's getting pretty toxic out there, though, on Twitter and stuff these days. It seems like people have chosen their cult heroes in the space, and they just mimic and go off of whatever they basically say, is what I kind of take it as. I don't know what your take is on it, on the entire thing, to be honest. I know that I don't really ever see you talk about anything other than Bitcoin, I don't think. As far as I see, I don't read every single tweet or anything, but what is your feelings about, other blockchains?
So my take on altcoins and other blockchains is that they're interesting, maybe scientific experiments, but definitely not a way to store value, and I wouldn't recommend anyone to invest in them.
Okay, that's pretty succinct. What would you say about things like Chainlink? See, I'm not a proponent of a million different blockchains, but I do think that, here's my take on it as somebody who enjoys reading economics, and I'm a bit of an armchair economist. I feel like all of these projects push the space and Bitcoin forward as, a competitor. Money is good just like anything else. The more money is out there, the better. The more competition, the better for Bitcoin. If there's no reason for Bitcoin to keep improving, whether it's privacy or scaling or anything, I think without these altcoins, they really, they could just say, this is it. This is Bitcoin. This is what you get. So what is your take on that? Like, as far as a competition thing, do you find that any of them have utility, like as a medium of exchange, or you just think they're experiments?
So honestly, I know nothing about Chainlink. I never really cared to look into it. So I just opened CoinMarketCap and I clicked on it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to have a huge supply of, actually it's not huge compared to Tron, but it's
I think there's 400.
350 million.
What is it, 350?
Oh no, that's the circulating supply. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it has like a
Total supply is
trillion.
$1 billion, I think. Will be $1 billion, or is it $1 billion or?
$1 billion, yeah.
Yeah. So Chainlink I'm just getting more into Chainlink. I'm just using it as an example because I think interoperability is going to be huge. And Chainlink is working on an Oracle to, mesh the blockchain world with the old database world and like external, making sure even blockchains can communicate with one another. I'm just wondering what you think about like interoperability, and I just don't think everything can be built atop one blockchain. And, to me, it's like having one app on your phone or something. Like, all of these apps provide utility, and that's why your smartphone is so valuable. I kind of view them like, Bitcoin is the king to me. I just wonder what your take is on like the whole, do you have any more, you want to elaborate on? Do you think interoperability can, exist without other blockchains?
So that's actually a very general statement that you've made, because you can distinguish between altcoin blockchains and sidechains. And sidechains are basically parallel blockchains that operate within the economic limits of the main chain, but offer all sorts of crazy features that you don't find on the main chain, and you can just transfer from one to the other without needing to create a different currency and without minting anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this regard, the design is from 2013, I think, for the first ever sidechain. And there's also a research paper from Blockstream, which dates from 2014. Mm-hmm. And it took them about 4 years to build the first ever functional sidechain, Liquid. And that one is capable of doing a lot of the stuff that Ethereum does in terms of tokenization, and also has confidential transactions. So if you move your coins on the sidechain, you'll be able to better improve your privacy for transactions. So I think interoperability is huge, and there is only so much that the Bitcoin blockchain can do. But at the same time, I don't see the purpose of link or any other blockchain to exist as such with a currency of its own.
That's an interesting take. See, we can go back and forth on this for a minute. Here's what I think about like the side chains, though. It's like you're still in that ecosystem, like Blockstream. All of the Blockstream guys are like, and like I said, I'm a Bitcoin guy, BTC all the way. BTC is king, but they benefit financially from pushing these side chains and the toxic maximalism. Whereas people who go outside of that ecosystem and try to embrace other projects, and I think really create a larger network effect, aren't tying everything. I don't know. I just feel like they're tying everything to their own finances. It's like they're pumping their own bags by saying, this is it. This is the only one. You build everything off of us.
I just think that Bitcoin, of all the projects existing today, has the greatest chances to keep on existing 10 years from now. I don't think we'll be talking about anything else. Maybe that something new and innovative will come along at some point, and it's going to be like Ethereum 4.0 or something, because we have had so many, I've lost count. But maybe that they will get the design right for once and do something useful. But the problem is that once you develop an industry and you have VCs and you have investments, it's very hard to have a pure launch like the one that Bitcoin had. And it's very hard to not have this pitfall of pre-mines and VC money, which possibly get some pre-sale tokens so that they can take advantage whenever the tokens get launched on the market. And it's not like, I think the last fair launch that we saw was Grin, and that's based on the Mimblewimble protocol. And that one had no type of investment behind it. And actually, at some point, the developers were struggling to find funds to keep on working. And Grin and Mimblewimble are kind of huge right now because they will be implemented into Bitcoin one way or the other. I know that Litecoin is working with Grin right now to build extension blocks. And extension blocks function basically just like sidechains, except that there's mining into extension blocks. So there will be two parallel blockchains working on the same network, and both of them get mined by different miners. And one of them is going to have confidential transactions with Mimblewimble, and the other one is going to have just regular open ledger transactions. And you are able at any point to just transfer money from one to the other without creating inflation. So I don't really understand how that works right now. I didn't put too much thought into the economics of it, but I like the idea of maintaining the supply and not creating some other kind of asset or token that competes with the existing one. That's possibly the reason why I like sidechains as opposed to something which is a good idea, possibly works well, and is going to get implemented to some industry, but it has a crooked financial policy. And that's the case for Ethereum, which had a 60% pre-mine, and it's kind of shady with all the decision making and how they decide sometimes that they want to delay hard forks, and they have a hard fork coordinator, and they push all the rest of the world to get on the same chain with them and make the same decisions, or else they're going to be left behind and have an altcoin that is possibly undesirable. So I think there's a lot of value in research and in coding and all of this open source work. All of these projects will find a purpose, but it will be on some sort of open protocol which has a very solid form of currency. Otherwise, we end up in the 2017 mania where everyone was trying to tokenize something and put it on the blockchain and create a coin for everything, which doesn't really make sense. And I think at the peak of it, when I was writing for Crypto Globe, which was the first publication for which I started writing, I got an email from someone who was trying to explain to me that it's a good idea to have a cryptocurrency for corporate gifts that you get for Christmas and for Easter and for whatever national holiday. And instead of getting gifts that you don't want, you'll get that token. And it blew my mind. Like, why don't you just ask for US dollars or whatever? Why don't you just say, give me money? Why do you need to create a token for this? It's insane. You end up having all these crazy ideas that don't really serve a practical purpose. You end up having a bubble where everyone buys into anything hoping that it's going to be the next 100x.
Mm-hmm.
But there's very little that actually survives all of this mania. So it's very hard for me to endorse any project that is not at least fair and has good developers and has a serious roadmap.
Right.
Because you can write, plans on a roadmap, but how many of the ICOs which raised millions of dollars were actually capable of keeping up with their promises? Most of them just gave up when they saw that Ethereum went from $1,000 to 200, and they said, nah, this is not sustainable. We basically, I think a lot of them just paid themselves first. So
Right.
they ended up with a lot of money. And they also paid for exchange listings because around the time it was a big deal, and people who were buying into ICOs were actually expecting that coin or token to get listed on an exchange as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they all have utility. I just think that there are more than just one or two or three. I think there's like maybe 30 coins that could stick around. But as we've seen over the first 11 years, there's only a few have the staying power. Like Litecoin's been around since 2011. Bitcoin, Ethereum, we talked about earlier, launched in 14 or 15. It's like a lot of these don't make it. So it is important to do your own research. Like you said, it's like you can't just throw money at coin market cap and pick number 71 on the list or something and expect to make a lot of money.